You want to find a husband, but here's the thing, ladies. You must learn how to be found. The answer simply lies in what, where, who, and how. So let's really get into this, because this is going to be one of my most important episodes, where for the ladies, where that is a desire of yours, you are about to find simply how to make that a reality. But see, it takes wisdom and understanding. So when you talk about what, ladies, what are you? Meaning, what are your values? What are your beliefs? Are you already a wife? See, the good book says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. But the most important thing is, for a man to find a wife, ladies, you have to already be a wife. What? In mentality, in mindset. Because ultimately, you attract what you are. And so when I talk about values, what I mean is, do you know whose you are? Do you know who God is? Do you know your values? Do you know what you will and will not tolerate? Because ultimately, for a man to find you, you have to be worth finding. That value essentially is based on what you will and will not tolerate, or what you will and will not expect as it pertains to how this journey should look. I'm going to tell you this, ladies. Being single is not a death sentence, because here's the truth. Single want to be married, married want to be single. Your singlehood, and that ain't a word, but I'm going to say it anyway. You being in your singlehood is actually a gift if you will learn to understand it. Because as a woman, if you are not ready to be feminine, submissive, and cooperative, you ain't ready for a husband anyway. How do we know that? If you really take inventory of the women that you know who are happily married, you will see something consistent, which is they are feminine, they are submissive, they are cooperative. And anytime a woman chooses not to be, especially if she's dealing with a real man, she ain't going to be married very long if she decides to be masculine, uncooperative, and unsubmissive. But here's the thing. I know that word submission is a dirty word, but a man and a woman are both, right, obligated, and it is important and necessary for us both to compromise, which means I lead and submit to you, you lead and submit to me, vice versa, because that's called healthy. Now, let's move into the where. Ladies, where are you looking? Like, let's really go there. Where are you looking? I hope it ain't the nightclub. I hope it ain't Mandrake. I hope it wasn't Red Zone. Like, I hope it ain't a dating app. Here's why. I understand we live in modern society, but check this out. People, when they go to certain places, carry a methodology and a mindset, usually for the moment. And guess what? A man ain't looking for a wife in the club or the lounge. A man ain't looking for a wife on an app. Now, understand this before you want to railroad me and go off the hinges. I'm talking about the law of probability. We ain't talking about outliers. I'm not speaking for everybody. What I'm saying, though, is like most things in life, the 80-20 rule applies. 80% ain't going for the right intent, especially if it's online. Like, you got to be kidding me if you really think that God's order works that way. Let me prove it to you. The data shows, right, that over 83% of relationships happen from what's called your social circle. What is your social circle? Who you work with, who you live nearby, what church you go to, what coffee shops you frequent, right? What friend and family events do you go to? That is called a social circle. Why do you only want to deal with people like that? Because they're vetted. You can establish who this person is, good, bad, or indifferent, by the safety net of your social circle. So one of the main reasons, ladies, you single is because it's where you looking. You cannot fish at the bottom of the barrel and expect great people. I'm not saying that you're bottom of the barrel. I get with modern society, we think there are certain ways, but the truth is altogether something different. So what that means is right place, right season, right venue, right views, right heart, right opportunity. Now let's go to who. Ladies, I'm gonna ask you a real question. Who are you repelling? Who are you attracting? What do I mean by who are you repelling? See, if you want to be found by a real man, I'm going to pay very close attention to how you're moving in these social circles, because it's going to tell me everything about everything. What do I mean by who are you repelling? See, I'm going to just keep it all the way funky with you. It's all fact and no capping, which is this. As a real man, if I see you got a whole bunch of male friends, red flag, I'm good on you. Why? Because that tells me you probably very attention and validation needy. If I see at the job place, you got a work husband, you're repelling me. Like, as a real man, I'm not finna deal with that. If I'm out in our social circle and I always see you with your baby daddy, you're repelling me. What that tells me, you probably ain't closed that chapter mentally and emotionally. And as a man, let's be straight up, ladies. There's 4 billion options. As a man, I'm looking for peace, not problems. So I'm not finna deal with your problems. And I'm not gonna help you resolve and figure that out. That ain't my job to. So then the question is, who are you attracting? With how you are moving, what are you attracting? Probably gives you a great indication of how you're being seen or received in the world. If you always attracting bad boys and players, that might be something you want to consider. If you always attracting deadbeat baby daddies, that probably is an indication of, you not necessarily moving in a way that you would be desirable to a real man. So let's really figure out, how are you moving? Number one, the good book says it best. Show yourself friendly. Ladies, are you carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders? Are you carrying anger, resentment, unresolved feelings? Because that might be something, good man, that you want to consider, which is, how are you showing up in the world? Are you wearing a smile, right? Are you radiating good energy? And what does that come from? Until you are a complete person, you can never be a person for someone else. Because again, a real man, you have to be feminine, submissive, cooperative. You have to bring me peace. Why? Because it's all about chasing God, chasing purpose, and creating generational wealth. So how are you friendly? What that mean? Wear a smile. Talk to strangers. Be open. Allow yourself to be open to organic experiences. And I'm going to hit on something real heavy right now about, who are you, ladies? What kind of soul ties you dealing with? Yeah. Let's talk about that. What kind of soul ties you dealing with? If your heart and emotions and you're physically still attached to someone, that can be seen, felt, and experienced by a real man. So begin to pray against soul ties. What are soul ties? When we lay down with someone, we literally create an emotional and a spiritual bond. See, the biggest challenge for God is he don't know who your husband is. Why? Because soul ties are very real. So as a woman and even as a man, when you start noticing that you're dealing with depression and sadness and anxiety, I guarantee you, if you are honest and open with yourself, you will begin to recognize probably some of those behaviors and patterns in one or multiple men. What does that mean? You got to break that soul tie. How do you break that soul tie? You go to your Heavenly Father and you pray about that, which is you rebuke and you bind up those things, that you are free from that relationship and that it will no longer affect you mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. Why? Because soul ties are anchors that will never allow you to properly, combine with someone else potentially. And so when I talk about soul ties, I also need to talk about another thing that women and men need to be especially careful with. The concept is called pair bonding. What data has figured out about divorces is, number one, a person or a woman who's been with one man has an 83% success rate with marriage. Why? Because she hasn't pair bonded with a whole bunch of men. What is pair bonding? Every time you are in a serious relationship, you pair bond. Every time that relationship ends and you begin another one, your ability to connect emotionally and your ability to resolve issues and conflict becomes lower and lower. Why? It's another disappointment. I put in all this energy and effort. I'm going to try less the next time. What the data shows is once a woman has been physically intimate with more than 5 men, so beginning at 6 men and beyond, it exponentially drops. The numbers are something like less than 40% of all women who have been with 6 or more people are able to be happily married. Why? Because the pair bonding has been detrimentally impacted, meaning your ability to resolve and work through things becomes less and less each new relationship. What the data found is once a woman has been with more than 10 people, her success rate at marriage is like 20%. The scientists stopped studying it after 10 because of the exponential drop off from 1 to 10 goes from 80-something% to 20. But you can pray about that, ladies. Pray about that. Be prayerful that God renew your heart in the area of soul ties and pair bonding. Because it is not fair to the next man to have to deal with the ish and the baggage of your previous relationships. Ain't fair to him, ain't fair to you. So what are the next steps? Prayer. 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 Part of that prayer needs to look like this. Tell the Lord that you are doing the work, willing to continue to do the work, and that in his set season to allow your husband to find you. Why? Because it is a man's job to find you. It is your responsibility to be in a position to be found. It's a mutual responsibility. So then, as it relates to that prayer, how will you know when you potentially have the one? I learned this from a mentor. This applies to men and women. That how do you know when someone is the one? Is where you can honestly say, as a man, if I were a woman, I would want to be like her. She can say, if I were a man, I would want to be like him. Now, let me clean this up real quick. People are people. You will never find someone perfect because why? You're not perfect. The goal got to be progress. So what is perfect is that he or she has 80% at present point, the qualities that you want. And guess what, sis? Guess what, good sir? It is your job with the other 20% to bring out the wife in her. Yeah, for the ladies, you a helpmate. The word wife means assistant to the king. The word wife means lifesaver. It is your job to bring out the other 20% of the real man and the husband that he is. It's like a perfect house. There is no perfect house. Even when you custom build a house, you are going to find at least 20% of things that you wish you would have done different. So what are we looking for? We're looking for progress, not perfection. This person needs to have 80% of the qualities. What are those qualities? What is his faith values? Who does he want to become? And ultimately, what is his vision for your children's children? Otherwise, he ain't qualified. Otherwise, she ain't qualified. So what we've learned, ladies, is that to be found by a husband, you have to already be a wife. What we've learned is, what are you? What are your values? What are your beliefs? Are you a wife already? What we've understand is, where are you looking? Club ain't gonna get it. Where you need to be looking is within your social circle, organically. Where you live, where you work, where you play, organically. Why? Because you need the value and the input of friends and family members who you can trust to give you insight on who this person really is. And then who are you repelling? Guess what? A real man, I'm not doing work husbands. I'm not doing male friends. Why? Because it's unhealthy. I'm not doing baby daddy friendships. Who are you repelling? Because a real man must not and need not tolerate that type of movement. Why? Because it's not healthy. It's not effective. And then who are you attracting? What you're attracting is a great indicator on who you are. And then last but not least, how are you moving? Are you showing yourself friendly? Have you dealt with soul ties? Have you prayed against the pair bonding effect wherever you are in your journey? And guess what? It is through prayer, persistence, and patience that in your set season, you will be found. I want to leave you with this last story. There was a story that I once heard by a great pastor based in Cleveland. And he made a statement about how a woman must move as it pertains to giving an example of a tree. And here's what you must understand, ladies. Men all day, every day are going to be walking past your tree. And if you allow yourself to be low-hanging fruit, meaning easy, no values, no qualifications, no standards, any and every man is going to pick at your fruit. Why? Because it's low-hanging fruit. So the goal is you must be a woman where you place your fruit at the top of the tree. See, pursuit determines desire. A real man who wants to find a wife and not a jump off, a real man who understands that it's his job to find her, ladies, is going to be willing to climb to the top of that tree. Meaning, it ain't no wham, bam, thank you, ma'am type situations. Oh, no, none of that. So, if you a queen and you looking for a king, oh yeah, that man is going to be willing to climb to the top of that tree. Why? Because his pursuit determines desire. In that, as the founder of Developer Nation, I want to invite those whom this message applies to, right, to click on the link in the bio as it relates to Developer Nation, wherein we educate and equip individuals who have a vision of doing small and large scale real estate to learn not only what to do, but who and how to ask. We will partner with you, assuming the project is viable and feasible, to connect you with our capital partner relationships, wherein we will not only get it funded, but we will, assist you and will lead the direction of making sure that that project goes through the horizontal as well as the vertical construction, cradle to grave, so that you too, through our community, can build generational wealth to pass on to your children's children. And that best happens through group economics. So as always, all things work together for the good of those that love God and are called according to his purpose. As always, like, comment, subscribe, follow. I will see you in the next episode.